Welcome to Off the Mat. We have a lot planned for you guys today. We are back at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we'll be getting right into UFC on Fox and UFC 139 right after this. Welcome back to Off the Mat, guys. I'm Bernard Oliver, and I'm joined by Jeremy Hurt over there to the far left, and John Arcuyo right next to him. Guys, how y'all doing on this Friday night?
I'm doing fantastic. It's Friday, ready for the weekend.
Oh, college basketball is getting started up, man. It's a great time to be a sports fan in these sports. But speaking of sports, we're going to go into MMA, what the show's about. We're going to get into UFC on Fox. Man, what an amazing card to open up UFC on Fox. I know Dana White was talking a lot after the fight, saying that, this wasn't even supposed to happen. This was something that Fox came to them and was like, hey, why don't we have an inaugural, bout, have some guys come up, get on this fight card, throw it together, and we'll put it on TV, get everybody to come in, bring all those fans into Fox. Great card to do it on. Dos Santos, we'll get to that in a little bit. Dos Santos doing a great job in his bout, though. But first, we're going to talk about Dustin Poirier versus Mr. Pablo Garza. Man, Darce choke. Yeah, I've been saying the last couple months, I want to see somebody execute a Darce choke. And look at Mr. Poirier coming out and executing it so beautifully. It's just textbook the way he did it. Got it, locked it in, and Garza was done for pretty much when he went for it.
You know where I come from. I love the arm and shoulder chokes. To me, those are the best chokes. They're the easiest to get in place, and there's the quickest way to submit someone. We saw it in this fight, obviously. You put someone to sleep real quick when you cut off those carotids.
Well, and we see that it's kind of an evolution from where this sport was huge around knockouts, and still definitely is, but we're now starting to see fans kind of geared towards some of these, skilled ground games that produce some of these excellent submissions that really are very just exciting as a knockout.
That's definitely two cards in a row. UFC 138 offered a lot of submissions, and this one did also. Like I said, that Darce choke, a beautifully executed Darce choke. We're going to go into the next fight here, though. Mr. Benson Henderson versus Clay Guida. Was this fight not everything we said it was going to be last week?
Absolutely. You got two animals out there. Clay Guida is somebody who just lasts. He just goes. It doesn't matter how hard you hit him. It doesn't matter how long you choke him out. He's just going to keep fighting and keep fighting. And then going against Ben Henderson, one of the elite fighters in MMA right now, definitely kind of taking over that weight class.
One of the elite fighters, one of the elite athletes in that weight class, really. And like you said, I think we all three agreed on this, that was going to be a great fight. There's no way that's a bad fight. Clay Guida, like John mentioned, the motor that doesn't stop running. You put him in there with a dynamic athlete like Henderson, you see what you get.
Yeah, man, Benson Henderson came out and got the unanimous decision. I loved watching this fight. It was exactly what I expected to be. It was a battle until the last round. These guys, I really wish it would have been on TV. I really wish they would have thrown it on there so we, could have gave the fans another fight to see. But getting into the fight that was on TV, Mr. Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos. Cain stood up, tried to throw Dos Santos. Dos Santos gave him those hands that we talked about last week. Threw an overhand right, knocked him down, finished the fight after that. It was a great showing for those people who are just now getting introduced to the sport.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on board with Dana White on this one. Where was the shot? I mean, did Cain Velasquez really think he's going to go fight Junior Dos Santos and win that fight standing? He has very solid stand-up. He does not have the caliber of boxing that Junior Dos Santos. I was shocked. I thought he would go in. I thought he'd change levels, go for the shot very early. He didn't, and there was no very late. It was all very early.
Well, and it just goes to show you this is exactly what we've been talking about. Dos Santos, one of the most elite boxers, strikers in MMA altogether, being a great ambassador for the UFC's heavyweight division. This is what people want to see. They want to see stand-up. They want to see big hits with the big guys rumbling in the ring. That's exactly what you want to see when it comes to that. I think Fox, this whole debut, I don't think it worked out as well as Fox had wanted. You want to see two guys going, 4 or 5 rounds. That's, bashing each other's brains out. Still, though, a knockout to start. This is why, we talked maybe this should be a 2-card event and that Fox should have put on another one. I know Henderson and Guida, that was a fantastic fight. That could have been on national television, but still, taking nothing away from Dos Santos, still a great fight and a great performance.
we all agreed on that last week. It should be Henderson and Guida on the main card, and look what happened. I'm not trying to second guess anyone because obviously they're rich and I'm not, but you know what I'm saying.
That's going to do it for our UFC on Fox Talk, guys. If you want to see what we thought about the rest of the fights, make sure you go on uatvonline.net, look at our picks, look what we had to say about them. When we come back from the break, we're going to get into some boxing. Stay with us, guys. You're watching Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings.
High school kids wanting to get it on. Apparently what he does for money is make children. We learned that apparently segways are really important. In Tron, they ghost ride the whip. Neil Diamond, I like to call him the Jewish Elvis. Fridays at 9, I'm here, love me, please, not too late.
Welcome back to Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. This is our 5th edition of our show from Buffalo Wild Wings, guys. Still doing good? Anyway, getting back into some fights, guys. We're going to talk about Manny Pacquiao versus Mr. Marquez, man. What a great fight that was. It lasted 12 rounds. How long has it been since we've seen a 12-round battle in boxing?
Since last time Pacquiao fought Marquez. Yeah.
That's right, that's right. Now, Marquez coming out, 38 years old, coming out against the younger Pacquiao and showing him that I still got it, young buck.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to compare the two rivalries, they would really have two things in common. One would be the level of fighting in the fight. The combatants were really ready to go, out on the shield. I think that's one thing. The other thing is both of them kind of left as many question marks as they did answered questions. You got 3 fights where every single one of them in this trilogy, it's like,
don't know who won. Yeah, so that's another thing we kind of bring up now. Now, is there going to be a 4th fight, you think? You have these controversial fights between these two guys. John, where do you think this war goes between? Do they end it right here? Do they call it quits? Or does Marquez and Pacquiao, do they have another fight?
Well, it's questionable right now. I think that it kind of leans more towards the side that there will be a 4, just because if you look out there, there's not that many great boxers that can pull together this kind of, take and have this many fans interested still. Yes, true, Pacquiao, 2 wins, 1 draw, but still battles. Like you said, 12 rounds. We haven't seen guys go at it. They have a rivalry, and I am one in belief that this Mayweather-Pacquiao thing is just a hot dog dangled in front of the donkey, trying to get them up, boxing fans back into the limelight that was, the 80s and early 90s of boxing. I think that, moving forward, they're running out of time, and unless this Mayweather-Pacquiao fight happens, I think boxing's decline is just going to continue.
I agree with you that it is kind of a carrot out in front to keep people tuning in. I will say this. If this fight with Marquez had any effect whatsoever on a possible Pacquiao-Mayweather, it might be the fact that it might nudge him in that direction, because now people are saying, well, you didn't really win, you can't beat a good counter-puncher. If anything, if the balance tipped at all, I'd say it tipped in that direction.
Definitely, and Manuel Marquez, I see such a warrior and an old, I called him an old guy, he doesn't have it anymore. He came out there and he gave Pacquiao the best fight we've seen in a while. He's the best competition we've seen Pacquiao fight in a while. I wouldn't be against seeing another fight. Who knows where it's going to go? Boxing is in the topsy-turvy world that it's in, so who knows where it's going to go. Not really going to get into the Floyd Mayweather Pacquiao talk, because I don't really think it's going to happen anymore. We've talked about this off camera plenty of times. We don't really think it's going to happen anymore, and they're just, kind of squeezing all the money they can out of that. We're really waiting for the next great boxers to come up in that sport, because, Pacquiao and Mayweather are probably going to retire pretty soon. I don't really see them fighting before that retirement happens. But, guys, we're going to go to a break right now. When we come back from the break, we're going to get straight into UFC 139. Dan Henderson versus Shogun Rua right after this. You're watching Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. Sports Advantage on Thursdays. Welcome back to Off the Mat, guys. Getting off to a great start here. We're going to get into UFC 139, but first we're going to do a couple of shout-outs here. We are at Buffalo Wild Wings on 42 West Joyce Boulevard next to the Northwest Arkansas Mall. You guys want to come out here and check out the fights, you can always come by. They order every pay-per-view that comes by, and that comes out, excuse me, and they come in here. There's a big community that follows MMA here. They all come to Buffalo Wild Wings, so that's one of the great things about our partnership. We can spread that to you guys. You guys can watch Off the Mat, and you can come watch UFC events at Buffalo Wild Wings. There's a couple other things. We can kind of have a couple questions going on Facebook. We ask people questions periodically, and we had a quote. We had a quote up that Mike Tyson said. He's, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I asked our viewers, who said that? And Kiefer Walker actually got it right first try. Shout out to Keith Walker. He's been a big fan of the show. Always comments, especially when we talk about boxing. Huge boxing nut. So shout out to Kiefer Walker on the Facebook. You guys want to give us answer a question, give us a shout out, go to facebook.com/offthematTV. Or if you want to hit us up on Twitter, you can follow me at Bernard_Oliver. And you can follow John at John Urquio. And you can follow Jeremy at Jeremy Hurt, 2 T's. Now, getting back into these fights, guys, UFC 139, what a magnificent card. Our first fight coming up on that card, we have Michael McDonald versus Alex Soto. Two guys kind of under the radar a little bit. Soto not fighting in the UFC yet, getting his debut in the UFC. And then we have Michael McDonald, who's a guy I said kind of leans more towards KOs, even though he's pretty balanced in his wins. Great fight coming up, guys.
Yeah, I mean, these are definitely two guys that maybe are 2013 elites. That time frame. These are, if you want to see a kid on the way up, one of these kids is on their way up. Really right now they're both on their way up, but they're coming up on a juncture, and one of them's going to keep going, the other's going to have to retool it a little bit. McDonald, I think the youngest man in the UFC. I think he's 20 years old. Soto is young, hasn't been in a lot of fights, but he's fought some experienced guys, and he's found a way to win.
Yeah, I totally agree, and not to say that these fighters are gonna, come meet. One's gonna go up, one's gonna go down. I think they're both on their way up. It's two young guys. This is exactly what the UFC needs: feeding these young, amazing athletes that are really coming into their own early in their MMA careers. I think Soto is, fantastic. He's a great athlete, got a good, well-around game, and going against McDonald is just a treat for the fan to see these two young athletes at their start and fighting each other already.
All right, guys, let's get our picks here. Jeremy, who you got in this fight and how they're gonna win?
I got McDonald. I'd be lying if I said I've seen either of these guys fight that much, but I do know that when you listen to people that are in the camps and that know the game real close, they say that this kid's legit. He's a superstar of the future. I'm gonna go with Michael McDonald.
John, who you got?
Finally, me and Jeremy, we're gonna shake it up a little bit. I'm gonna go with Soto. I think that a lot of people are sleeping on this guy. Not too many people have seen this fight. Hasn't fought in the UFC very much at all, or in America at all. I think that he's gonna move forward and he's gonna shock the world. He's gonna take a surprise to McDonald and he's gonna come out ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and take McDonald on that, man. I think are we unanimous there? Did we just agree?
I went with Soto.
Oh, I guess we're not. Excuse me. Thanks, John. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That'll probably come back to bite.
But I'm going to go with McDonald here, man. I think he's going to grind it out and he's going to get the decision. These guys are two great fighters. They're both very well-rounded. They both got, kind of an even keel of wins in submission, knockout, decision. Between the two of them, I said online, McDonald leans more toward KOs. That's why I feel like, it could feel like he's going to go to decision. Getting into our next fight, we're going to go into Ryan Bader versus Jason Brills, a fight I like to call the fight to save my career. Jason Brills coming out. I don't know what to say about Jason Brills. He's up and down. He's everywhere. And then you got Ryan Bader, who was undefeated until he found John Jones. And then Tito Ortiz gave it to him. So you kind of have two guys right here kind of losing recently, need to get their stripes back. Get their stride back under them, excuse me.
Yeah, Ryan Bader's a guy whose stock has plummeted like Enron over the last year. With that loss to Bones Jones, but, it's Bones Jones. Who has he not demolished?
Exactly.
And, yeah, Tito, there's a part of me that wants to hate Ryan Bader for keeping Tito's career alive. But, there's another part of me that says sometimes you get caught. Every great fighter, you can look at a point in their career where something happened and you went, oh, they're not nearly as good as we thought they were. Ryan Bader's still very strong. He still has great wrestling if he ever chooses to use it. And he's got big hands. It's an interesting fight, I'll say that. Interesting, I think, is the word for this fight.
Well, and the thing that most people think about, I'm sure that, 2 losses in a row for both of these men, unfortunate downside in their career. I don't think this is career-ending the loser in this fight. I think maybe they might get sent down to the minors, down to Strikeforce for a couple of those, to see if I don't think you got to worry about the pink slip until you get down to the minors and Strikeforce. But still, these are two, dogs backed into the corner. These are two guys that really have to prove themselves, and if they want to stay on that elite level where they were planning on going, then the winner of this is really going to have to, take control of this fight.
Are we calling Strikeforce the minors now? Is that what we're dubbing Strikeforce?
I'm just going to abbreviate AA. We're going to call it the AA.
All right, guys, getting into our pick before we get to this break. Who you got, Jason Brills or Ryan Bader?
I'm with Bader. I know he's got a couple of losses, high-profile losses that everyone saw, but Brills also just got destroyed by Machashenko. I'm going with Bader. I think it's that close.
John, who you going with, man?
That's what I'm going to have to agree on. I think Bader, he undefeated for a while, runs into John Jones. That's going to shake anybody up. And like you said, swings sometimes catch, and he did get one to, unfortunately, save Tito's career, but I think that Bader's going to come back from this and end up taking this fight.
Man, you know what? I think Bader's going to get back to basics. He's going to use his Division I wrestling background. He's going to come out, and he's going to submit, I said it, he's going to submit Jason Brills in the second round. So I'm going with it, guys. When we come back from the break, guys, we're going to talk about the rest of this fight card coming up. We're going to talk about the main card. A lot of good fights coming up, guys. You're watching Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. Welcome back to Off the Mat, guys. I'm Bernard Oliver. I'm joined by Jeremy Hurt and John Urcuyo. Still doing good, guys?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. That's always kid. Are y'all anything but fantastic?
I'm just, look at me. Seriously. Wouldn't you be fantastic?
All right, guys, getting back into this card. UFC 139. Now we're on to the main card. We have Stephan Bonnar versus Kyle Kingsbury. A fight I'm very excited about. One of the fights I said online might be fight of the night. I mean, there's a couple fights on here that could be fight of the night. But you got Kingsbury coming in against Mr. Bonnar. And there's so many ways this fight could go. But I really feel like it's going to be a brawl.
Most likely. That's what Stephan Bonnar likes to do. He likes to just sort of get in there and turn it into a drunk fight. It's very effective at times, and at times not so much. I'm thinking maybe he's out-strengthed, out-athleted, possibly even out-techniqued against Kyle Kingsbury. I don't know. I don't know that it's that great of a fight. I'm afraid that it's going to be a quick stoppage.
Well, and it's Dana's boy, Stephan Bonnar, pretty much catapulted UFC back in the first Ultimate Fighter stages. I think that, he's a tough guy. He usually stands in another guy like Clay Guida who's going to just sit in there. He'll take your shots, and he'll throw some back. Kingsbury, very talented. Bonnar, just, about 4 or 5 years older in this match. I don't know if that's going to really take away from his ability to last, but like you said, I don't know if it's not going to be a shocker. It's not going to be fight of the night, but entertaining I think it will be. This is going to stay on the feet for at least the majority of the fight.
I think Kingsbury he's outmatched him on the feet, and I think Bonner's going to sit and he's going to try and trade with him. It's not going to be as bad as John Jones embarrassing him, but it's going to be pretty bad. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Kingsbury on the win. Jeremy, who you got?
I'm going Kingsbury. I honestly think Bonnar would like a slugfest. I don't think that's where it's headed. I think Kingsbury will drag him to the ground and it'll be beat down until it's over. I'm going Kingsbury.
John, who you got on your pick?
Hey, love Stephan Bonnar. Great career, entertainer. Unfortunately, always injured. But I'm going to have to go with Kingsbury also.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to go into our next bout here. We're going to go into Mr. Bowles versus Uriah Faber. What a great fight to come up on this card. Another candidate for fight of the night here coming up with these two guys. It can go a lot of different ways. We can see wrestling. We can see some striking. Don't think it's going to be there, but we could see some of that. I really think it's going to end up on the ground.
I think you're going to see everything in this fight. I think it's a fantastic fight. I think it's, in my opinion, it's probably fight of the night. I think you're going to see everything because that's just what you get. First of all, at that weight, that's what you get because they are surrounded. And these are two guys that are high energy. These are two guys that are good everywhere. Anytime Uriah Faber's in a fight with his scrambling ability, you know that you're going to see the fight in a lot of different phases. I think it's going to be all over the place.
Yeah, I totally agree. Two athletes. Don't sleep on Faber. He's not that old. The guy's still got plenty of athleticism in those old bones. And this is not going to be like an Aldo situation where he's going to go for the leg, take it out. It will end up on the ground. It will be some striking. There will be scrambling. It'll be like two mice on Ritalin running around. But I think it's definitely going to be entertaining. We can definitely count on that.
I definitely see a lot of entertainment coming out of this fight. Uriah Faber, man, he's one of those guys that does not quit. He gets you on the ground and he's going to tear your face apart. And then you got Bowles over there coming up, definitely less experienced, but he still knows what he's doing in there. I really have to give the edge to Faber because he's worlds apart in experience from Bowles, but Bowles' talent might come back.
I don't think experience plays in this fight. They're both experienced enough. They both know how to fight. They've both been on the big stage in front of the big lights. I don't think experience plays in that much, honestly. I think if anything, if you're looking at it, Faber's size, I think, will play a big part in it. He is physically bigger. That's the kind of game plan he wants to employ where he can use his size. I think that might be the deciding thing in this fight.
All right, guys, we're going to go straight into our picks off of that. Jeremy, who you got?
I'm going with Faber. I think it'll be a very even fight. Maybe, kind of like a one round to make the difference, but I think throughout a full fight, I think Faber will control from top, will do damage, will control positioning for a large amount of time. I got your right Faber in this one.
John, who you got, man?
I'm going to go against that. I'm going to go with Bowles here. I think that this is his step. This is his chance to prove that he is an elite fighter, that he can move up in the weight class, and that he can challenge some of the higher-end athletes in the UFC. I think that Uriah Faber is the next step. It is the gateway that he needs to step through, and I think he's going to do it at 139.
All right, guys, I got to go with Faber here by decision, man. I just can't go against Mr. Faber. He's, like I said, the experience of Faber is worlds apart from Bowles, so gonna go with Faber. Next fight, Rick Story versus Martin Kampmann. Wow, another candidate for fight of the night. I couldn't choose my fight of the night. It was so hard to pick this fight during my fight of the night fight when we picked those at the bottom of our picks online because there's just so many fights on this card that can be fight of the night. This fight is going to be amazing.
Maybe from time to time, sometimes I'm negative about certain fighters, certain fights. Maybe I say,
Nah,
I've had a lot of guys that I'm not doing that. Martin Kampmann, Rick Story, two great fighters, two exciting fighters, two fun. I love this fight. I love pretty much every fight on this fight. I think it's fantastic.
I think it's going to be entertaining as heck. You got Kampmann and Story. These are two guys with great fuel and fire, good wrestler, ground game. They can stand up and strike, and they're tough. That's what I love about them the most. They're tough guys. They got in this because that's what they love to do. They love to fight. They love to be in that ring and trade and just be more athletic than the other guy. I think is going to be a fight of the night.
In MMA, the ultimate matchup when you talk about styles of two fighters is a boxing wrestler against a kickboxing jiu-jitsu player. That's exactly what this fight is. I think it'll be beautiful.
All right, very quickly, guys, who are your picks? Who you got in this fight?
I got Kampmann. I'm going with Kampmann by sub.
I love Kampmann. He's long, strong, great on the ground, but I'm going with the horror story.
All right, man. I got to go with the horror story, too. I'm actually going to take him for a KO in round 2. All right, guys, getting into our next fight here. We have two kind of older guys, two legends in the sport. One is a UFC legend, one a Strikeforce legend. We have Wanderlei Silva versus Cung Le. Oh, man, there's not a lot of ways this fight can really go. There's been a lot of talk on the internet, guys getting back to us on UATV online, telling us that they're going to, Wandy's not done. He's not getting his lights turned out left and right for no reason. He's been training. I'm not so sure.
Look, I was as big a fan of Wanderlei Silva as anybody back in the day. I'm still a big fan of Wanderlei Silva. It's not just his Pride days. That Keith Jardine finish is one of the most beautiful finishes of all time. 5 years ago, it was Wanderlei Silva, and it's not even close. Today, it's his lights go out real easy. Cung Le is not necessarily a guy that knocks everybody out, but he is a guy that's going to put volume on you, and he's a very unorthodox striker, very difficult to deal with. I think it's a tough matchup for Wanderlei, honestly. I think he's going to have trouble getting inside on a guy like Cung Le, and that's the key to his style.
If Cung Le does win this fight, John, do you see him coming to the UFC, and do you see Wanderlei leaving?
I could see Wanderlei finishing his career on this. I mean, he's a guy right now that pretty much when they come up with the saying, a puncher's chance, that's what he has, because he's just kind of swinging for the fences every time he gets close to his opponents. Cung Le, this guy is an amazing striker, very accurate, one of the top in MMA. I think that Cung Le is kind of getting a little bit older, and that any kind of fight that would move forward after this one would be kind of set-up fights, more publicity-driven than any kind of title shot or any kind of proving grace. But I think that Cung Le will come out ahead in this. I think he'll probably end up in a first-round knockout or knockdown. I think that it's just going to turn out that way. Like you said, Silva, 5 years ago, phenomenal. It's not 5 years ago.
I got to go with the human highlight reel, Kung Lee. I agree with you guys. I feel like Wandy is going to get his lights turned out very quickly. And I hate to say it, I love Wanderlei Silva, one of the greatest fighters to ever come through the sport. But I got to go with Kung Lee. John, who you got?
Same thing, you know, I don't know how quickly it would be because, again, he's not like a huge knockout guy necessarily, but he's going to hit him, and he's going to hit him repeatedly, and I think Kung Lee will eventually knock Wanderlei Silva out.
John, who you got?
I totally agree. You know, one-punch knockout, maybe not, but he's definitely, it doesn't take that much more to knock out Silva these days, so I'm going to have to go with Kung Lee.
All right, guys, well, that does it for that fight. Getting into our main event, Dan Henderson versus Shogun Rua. Wow, what an amazing fight. I really think this fight's going to be over very quickly. I know, you guys are probably going to take a little different take on that, but I really think Hendo is going to get knocked out by Shogun Rua very quickly by devastating KO.
I think that there's no chance that that's going to happen at all. You know, Hendo, the thing, again, experience doesn't play into this fight at all. Really, I don't know that you can analyze this fight. At some point, it becomes the fact Dan Henderson's got a punch that can finish you in a heartbeat. He's got great reco. He's got great wrestling. Shogun is one of the most devastating strikers in the business. He's just fury. He thrives when chaos, when everything breaks down and it's just a fist fight. That's where he's at. Very underrated ground game. I can't see any way this ends early. It's hard to analyze. Like I said, this fight could go a million different ways. Dan Henderson laying on his back within the first any amount of time, I don't see that.
John, where do you think this fight's going to go?
I would have to say I am in full belief that Shogun has the keys and the skills to outmatch Henderson. He's quicker, that constant attack. I will have to agree, I don't think it's going to be a first-round knockout, but I think that Shogun will just implement that Muay Thai and just kind of crush. He's going to take over. He's going to implement it. He's going to be too much for Henderson here. I mean, Henderson, great career. Held 2 belts at one time, one of the top fighters. But it's a new day. Shogun's time. I think he wins this fight. Like
I said online in our picks, Shogun Rua is the second best light heavyweight in the world, hands down. There's nothing against that. Dan Henderson, he's Dan Henderson. He's a legend in the game, but he's not going to take Shogun Rua. Shogun is matched only by John Jones, and John Jones isn't touched by anyone. So I'm going to go with Shogun Rua by KO in the first round. Jeremy, who you got?
Like I said, I don't want to overanalyze a fight like this because we'd all be lying if we said we had a real idea of where this is going. If you want my honest opinion, I would say I think Henderson could use the power of that left hand that can turn your lights off so fast. I think he'll use that kind of feints to set up his shots. I think that he'll get inside on Shogun, and I think eventually he'll wear him down. If he tries to get into a boxing fight with Shogun, he'll end up sleeping or badly outpointed.
John, who you got very quickly?
I'm going with Shogun. I think Shogun's going to keep moving forward. He's going to keep attacking. Second round, it's going to end by stoppage due to TKO punches.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm Bernard Oliver, joined by Jeremy Hurt and John Urcuyo. If you guys want to go check us out online, check out facebook.com/offthemattv. If you want to check us out on Twitter, at Bernard Oliver, _Oliver, at John Urcuyo, at Jeremy Hurt, 2 T's. For Jeremy Hurt and John Urcuyo, I am Bernard Oliver. This has been Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings, guys. Until next time, we'll see you at fights.